one of the things I wanted to talk about was that value of stillness. How does it play a part? Why is it valuable? How does it play a role? And what is it? And what is it giving us relief from? Well, what's the habit it's breaking? And a way to think into it is going on vacation. So just imagine going on vacation. What happens? When we move from our life, doing, God, especially right before vacation. There's a lot of packing and doing and tidying up loose ends. There's a lot of doing engaged and involved. And that becomes almost the totality of our reality, is all the doing. And then we go on vacation. We get on the plane, we get on the boat, we get on the train. We have some vehicle that moves us to another place. And in that place, there's the, wherever it is, a beach, the Himalayas, a forest. Usually, hopefully we're going on vacation somewhere we like. And typically we don't typically choose to go on to vacation to a place that is going to be more chaotic or more active or more busy than our regular lives. If we're paying attention. Some people do. Some people just replace their busyness at home with the busyness of being somewhere else. But if we do go on vacation to really let go, to slow down, what's happening? We're giving ourselves the opportunity to stop, right? To slow down. We're lessening the noise. Bottom line, we're lessening the input, the stimulus, the noise that triggers our habits, our habit of mind, our habit of self. And when we do so, within a few days, and it often takes that, we discover that it feels really good. It typically feels all manner of things. Peaceful, expansive, graceful, beautiful, loving. Wherever we are, we tend to look around and go, life is really sweet. And it's helpful that we have the external environment to reflect that. But that sweetness, that peace, that expansiveness is where? It's right here. And it's always right here. This is the thing. It's always right here. And all we're doing, and when we take that vacation, is we are lessening the noise so that can go, hi, remember me, remember this, remember truth. When we relax our mind. It's why we practice. It's why we practice mindfulness. It's why we practice presence. It's why we practice our meditations. It's why we practice stopping on a regular basis throughout the day to take a few breaths and go on vacation. Because on vacation, what are we doing? We're putting it all down. Oh, all that? Let me just take a break from it for a little while. How sweet that we can actually do that within a few breaths. Put it all down. It'll be like, trust me, it'll be there. It's not that if we put it down for too long, it won't get attended to. It's just that when we come back from our vacation, we'll attend to it with a bit more grace and patience and stability and truth and wholeness. So it's good to know what our mind is busy with. That's the awareness shining a light on. So what I'm not just attending to the doing. I'm not just attending to the trash that needs to be taken out and the bills that need to be paid and the kids that need to be taken to school and the projects that need to be done and all the ways that I'm being asked to show up physically in the world. There's a subtler habit of mind that's really handy to know what's going on. And that's the habit of mind that is the constant until we train ourselves otherwise, but typically the constant assessment of everything we're experiencing. Everything. It's amazing. It's happening on such a subtle level, the dialogue, the narration that's going on in the mind. And typically what the mind is saying, and this is the mind that is identified with itself and with the ego body and thinking that this is all there is, which feels very fragile. If this is all we are, the mind, body, human experience, and that's all we are, that's a very vulnerable, fragile place. And so from that place, the mind is constantly assessing everything it looks at is what's in it for me? How does this relate to me? And what it's reinforcing is the me. How does this relate to me? Because if the question was, how does it relate to me, the truth of me, the God consciousness, the wholeness, the infinite, eternal, infinite nature of me, it really wouldn't ask the question a whole lot. It would just experience it. Because the question is asked for a sense of protection, or from a place of lack. I need to know how this relates to me, because I need to know if it's going to provide me any of the stuff I think I need to fill the lack. Is it going to provide me with the love, the attention, the abundance, the appreciation, the validation, the worth, or is it going to threaten it? So the mind, this is what Gangaji teaches, the mind is typically the inattentive mind, the mind left on its own, is in constant movement. After it assesses, then it says, I need to know how to get more of that. And it moves toward it. It's active. It's moving toward it. Or, this is good. I seem to have gotten from this external world what I need. And now, this is even more diabolical. It feels really good. Now I need to hold on to it. How do I hold on to it? So the mind is constantly active, assessing the world for how do I hold on to it, and what is the threat to what's going to make this thing go away, that I'm feeling this good feeling. Or this is a threat to my sense of self, and I need to move away from it. So that's typically what the mind is constantly assessing. Even the innocuous little stuff. And this is where a good practice comes in. Just the naming of things. That's beautiful. That's ugly. That's kind of ugly. That's really beautiful. Is a need being filled. I need to name everything, I need to know what's going on all around. Bottom line, because I still feel somewhat insecure. That makes sense? Yeah. And the root, the core of that insecurity, of course, is the illusion of I am only this confused, uncertain mind-body experience. Or even I'm this feeling quite happy, quite content, quite alive, mind-body experience, but primarily I'm feeling that because I seem to have everything in order right now. And this radical self-honesty is really important, to recognize that level of peace, that is a peace or happiness that comes from I seem to have everything currently organized well, is a fragile peace. Because the ultimate peace is the eternal sense of I know who I am. It's a place, it's a state of being that needs no defense. It just witnesses. It's just infinitely curious and loving and playful and witnessing. And it can meet any threat, sense of threat, from a stability, from a stillness. So take yourself back to the vacation state of mind. Isn't it quite different sitting on that beach, let's say, just feeling the peace? That if somebody said, oh, consider this aspect of your life that's somewhat chaotic and somewhat threatening, if you were able to maintain that beach state of mind, you'd be able to meet it quite differently. Yeah. You'd just be able to look at it and go, oh yeah. Ooh, yeah, that's showing up. But from this place of peace, okay, let me just meet it. And that's what we were talking about earlier, that idea of meeting any feeling that comes up. Not as I need to recognize it so I can make it go away. I just need to meet it from that place, that place we can become tethered to. That says, yeah, I've practiced, I've cultivated my truth of being through stillness, through putting down all the habit of mind for short periods of time. I've cultivated this other state of being. I know that to be my truth. And when this other thing shows up in my life that feels really real, I can now meet it knowing I've got this solid foundation. And I don't have to worry that this is going to consume me and take me away, because I'm tied to, I'm tethered to, through my breath, through my patience, through my awareness, through my mindfulness. I'm tethered to some truth. But before we had this, and only this, holy cow. Yeah, our whole life is just a maelstrom of being swept away in illusion. So that's one of the primary values of quieting the mind. Stilling our state of being. So that which is always present, this is the beauty, that which is always present can simply awaken again. And I think the last thing I'll say about this is it's interesting and important to recognize that we think that what's waking up is our ego. My ego will become enlightened. My ego will wake up. My mind will wake up. And it doesn't. What wakes up is a deeper consciousness. That eternal consciousness, that true consciousness, that's unconditioned. It was here before we were born. It will be here after we die. It has never been touched by any of the conditioning, any of the mind, any of the stories that we tell ourselves. It has been untouched by all of that. And it's always present, and it's always there, and it's always available. And that's what wakes up. And that shifted things for me big time when I got that. Because I was always trying to get the little ego to wake up. And it couldn't, because it was too small. It's a smaller consciousness, and it has limits. And it's always going to have limits. So it's recognizing that can get put down, can get stilled, can get left behind while we go on vacation. And then a deeper consciousness blossoms. Hi, I was always here. We're just relaxing the habit of mind through our practices so that this can arise. And when we lose it, it isn't because it went away. It's just that this became more noisy. The little mind just became more noisy. And I can't tell you how many times it is that I work with my clients and those who are awakening, that when they come with, oh, this is just going crazy. And I'll ask, how much stillness is there in your life? And almost every time the answer is, yeah, I've really gotten away from my practices. Okay. Right? Yeah. So it's really quite simple. All of our suffering, all of our confusion, all of our anxiety, all of our uncertainty, when it comes, and it can just come in small little packets, but anytime it comes, in any form, in any amount, it's generated by the mind. The habit of mind. One of my favorite teachings is that we cannot see our reflection in running water. It is in still water that we see our true reflection. It's kind of like looking down into a pond. Imagine looking down into a pond and there's a lot of ripples on the surface. Then we can't see through the ripples into the depth, the beauty, what's happening underneath. So we're captivated, transfixed by the ripples. That's our mind. When that smooths out, less noise. Isn't it amazing? We can look down and go, oh my God. Ooh, wow, it's beautiful in there. Look at all this stuff I couldn't see before, the snails and the fish and the plants. So the value of stillness. And I don't know any other way to truly relax the mind and all of its stories and all of its habit and all of its ideas and all of its beliefs and all of its conclusions and all of its perspectives and all of that it just thinks it's being so useful. It thinks it's being so handy and useful and valuable. Whew. Yeah. So let's take a moment and just do a little meditation. And it's a very simple one, and it uses the power of imagination. Because it's the imagination that gets us into so much trouble. It might as well be the same imagination that gets us out of trouble. As Alma, beautiful teacher, says, you can use a thorn to remove a thorn. So we can use the mind to ease the suffering and the noise and the chaos and the movement of mind, but only as a thing that imagines and asks a question, but then lets go. So in this, just sit for a moment, go to the breath. The idea of putting down, perhaps for a moment, let the mind go on vacation. And put down all the stuff, all the doing, all the thinking, all the considering, all the assessing. Put down all the assessment, all the interpretation. And just as we can let the body relax, bring attention to the body, feel the body, be aware of the entirety of the body all at once, and then with the out-breath, letting that body relax. And the same thing, bringing the attention to the fact that we have ideas and thoughts and beliefs and conclusions. Yeah, there they are. And let them relax. And imagine, what if you were born just now into this adult body here? You were born just now, you just came into consciousness. And you had no history, no conditioning, no childhood, no past, no collection of stories, no beliefs that were formed based on a little mind that didn't know. No perceptions, no conclusions. You were born just now. Straight from God. Straight from your truth of being. It's just your whole truth of being, your whole true nature, free of form, free of body, free of ego, free of mind, free of conclusions, pure, the pure innocence of self, just pop, just woke up. No history. Only knowing truth, only knowing connection to infinite, eternal nature. Only knowing love. Only knowing curiosity. And imagine carrying that state of being out into your day. Not letting the assessment come back into place. No need to assess. The only reason for assessment is because you have a history that you're trying to protect, a state of being, a storyline, an image of self. You don't have that anymore. No image of self. No history. No conditioning. So no need to assess. Only curiosity, just meeting everything as it is. Not having a determination about it. Wow, look at that. Oh, wow. Interesting. Wow. It's seeing everything through the eyes of love. It's seeing everything through the eyes of infinite love, beyond description love. All accessible because we've relaxed the idea of story, the idea of past. You come into this state of being, there's no lack. Lack is a thing we've learned. No lack, infinitely whole, infinitely loving. Can't be destroyed. of course this little image of self that we put together can be destroyed because it's not real in the first place. So of course it can be destroyed. It can be completely shattered. It takes a lot of effort to hold it all together. So we put it down. We know the truth of who we are. And everything we encounter can be encountered from that gracious space. And as soon as it starts to feel anxious or uncertain or fearful or doubtful or needing protection, we know that we are starting to believe things that aren't true. And we've started to slip into a habit of mind. So we stop. We go back to our breath. We feel into that expansive feeling of eternal nature. Ah, what if I was just born just now? No history, no past. How would I see this different? How would I be with this different? How would I be with this from infinite eternal God consciousness? Not as an idea, but as a truth. And that peace that we feel is the eternal peace that is always present. And we know that if we ever lose contact with it, it's only because the mind has started to identify again with the illusion. So take a few good deep breaths, holding on to that space, and before you open your eyes, remember the mind will want to go back to assessing everything. But that's the mind that wants to do that. It's not the truth of who you are. The truth of who you are is only infinitely curious and just witnesses things as they are with no story, with no need to assess. Okay, then slowly open the eyes. And how sweet that we have this available to us. And how stunning it is to recognize that most who struggle are just so completely identified with mind. The squirreliness, and they have no tether to anything else because they don't have a practice. They don't have an attentiveness, a mindfulness. So how beautiful. The love of the gratitude. We have that available, and the compassion for all those that don't yet. Blessings.